I brought my cup. Two guests today. She has been with the Colbert Show since the start in 2005. She's also worked on a lot of other television shows like Inside Edition, MTV Unplugged, The Rosie O'Donnell Show, and And she is the winner of 7 Producer Guild Awards and 2 Peabody Awards and an Emmy for Outstanding Comedy or Variety Show. And she grew up in a small newspaper in New Hampshire. Please welcome co-executive producer Meredith Bennett. Hello, welcome. Hi. Have a seat. Okay. The next guest, head writer, Opus Moreschi, worked with the comedy group Upright Citizens Brigade, an improv group. He has worked for the MTV, Spike TV, and of course Comedy Central. He has worked on the Colbert Show for 6 years, got 2 Writer Guild Awards and 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. Please welcome Opus Moreschi. Okay, have you had a warm welcome in Bergen?
We have.
Yes, yes. It was fantastic. You guys are lovely, thank you. You've been a great audience.
You've seen some of the scenery and taken the
tour
Norway in a nutshell.
Norway in a nutshell?
Yeah. Yep. And I got here last night, so the airport is beautiful. That's kind of what I know.
You know, we love it. We love it when we get noticed by people from big countries. And it's especially a proud moment every year when we hand out the Nobel Peace Prize and you know, the whole world's attention is upon us. And it was a especially proud moment in 2009 when the Nobel Peace Prize was covered on the Colbert Report. And we have a clip of this. Could we? Yeah. When you heard about Obama getting the Peace Prize, did you instantly know that this is a funny moment? This is going to be a funny moment on the show?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I mean, like when he was nominated, it was 11 days, and you know, I had as much hope as anyone. But you actually should be doing. I guess he hadn't actually physically assaulted anybody, so in that way, he was peaceful when he won the prize. But it did seem a little premature. And as you saw, there's a lot of clips there from people talking about it. So that's where we often take our inspiration, as we see what in American media the right or you know the cable news is saying about something, and then we mirror that outrage. Because I don't know, for the people who don't know the show, Stephen's obviously playing a character, and it's very much a caricature of cable news pundits, and so we take their ridiculousness and we just crank it up to 11 or so.
But here you actually agree with the character, and with the pundits from Fox News.
Sometimes
it was ridiculous to give him the Peace Prize.
Well, I mean, yeah, but he's taken a lot of troops out of the field and just sent in robots now. So you know that's peaceful, right? Flying drone robots.
So this where you actually could agree with the Fox News and the pundits.
That does happen sometimes.
How did the whole character start? The Stephen Colbert character as opposed to the actual man?
Well, the show started from Stephen worked on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. He was a correspondent there. And as part of the show there, they did a sort of mock promo where they made up a name called the Colbert Report, where but it was just supposed to be a joke on The Daily Show, and everyone started thinking, why don't we make it its own show? And people actually wrote in and said, when is this show starting? And then again, just the idea that there are all these crazy pundits on television in the U.S., and so it was ripe to sort of make fun of.
I saw him describing himself or the character as a fool who spends a lot of time playing not the fool.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep.
How do you see him? I mean,
he's. I mean, I've heard the character described as a high-status idiot. Like he thinks he knows everything, and so he's more than willing to yell at everyone at all times. But in fact, I think beyond that is a little layer of like he probably knows that he knows nothing, and so he's terrified. That's why he's yelling so loud. It's a fun character to play because we can make him as dumb as we want him to be, and Stephen is such a committed performer that he'll just go with it. So it's fun.
Could there have been a Stephen Colbert without the Bill O'Reilly of Fox News?
Well, certainly the character is actually a combination of different pundits and their styles. But certainly Bill O'Reilly was one, is an easy one to sort of play off of, since he's so extreme.
And it started with O'Reilly, but I think the character is definitely, we've gone in such weird places that, you know, Bill O'Reilly still, and some people still like say, yeah, he's just, the whole thing is he just makes fun of Bill O'Reilly all the time. But, you know, we just did a piece last week in which we had like a big chunk of Waiting for Godot that ended an act because it was funny. And I don't think Bill O'Reilly would ever do that. So I think we've moved beyond just being a Bill O'Reilly parody at this point.
But we must say, you actually worked with Bill O'Reilly on Inside Edition in the 90s.
I did. And that's where everything sort of always comes full circle, where, you know, I work on a show that makes fun of him. And,
and there's this famous show clip on YouTube where Bill O'Reilly in like 1995 or something are having this meltdown, yelling at all his employees and everybody around him.
Yes, and I was one of those employees.
So is it, do you feel a sort of revenge?
I guess I don't know so much revenge as satisfaction to have come full circle and to sort of be on the other side. You know, it was my first job out of television, and it was nice to leave there and learn that not all television hosts are quite so angry all the time.
We do have another clip here which features Bill O'Reilly rather prominently.
Folks, 26.
Bing? Bing, 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 bing.
Bing, bing.
You guys must watch an awful lot of Fox News.
We have people on the show who have the channel on the entire day.
Yeah.
And that is their job, to just watch Fox News and jot down all these points?
It's a big
Pretty
part
much,
of their job.
Yeah. I mean, it shows like that pitch was brought in by a writer named Meredith, not this Meredith, and she had seen that Bing 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 thing and said like that was she saw the clip that we saw, and then our video department went and found every time he did it, which apparently is a lot. I think that's probably.
And then you got all in a video.
And then they put it all together, so it shows that like all these different parts of our machine are working together to sort of make this happen.
But you keep every Fox News minute, or do you find it on YouTube, or when you go back to?
We use a service called Snapstream that allows us to go back and pull, you know, type in keywords and things and pull up clips. So
it's not the NSA or something that.
No, we don't work with the NSA.
And,
that you know of.
Right.
But you do get criticized for always, you know, going after the conservatives and Fox News. I mean, most journalists are liberals. Could you have made a show about a liberal pundit that way, an MSNBC guy, or?
It's interesting. I think we could now. I think when the show started, there wasn't that strong, you know, outrageous voice on the left that there was on the right at the time. I think MSNBC is starting to become its own self-parody, so maybe they'll just do it themselves. I think they've got a show on MSNBC that makes fun of Rachel Maddow. It's the Chris Hayes show. He's playing a Rachel Maddow character, I believe. That would kill in America. Come on. I think it's possible nowadays. Everything is becoming so polarized, and anytime anyone takes such an extreme position, it's easy to make fun of them.
Stephen Colbert was kind of a child of the Bush era. How did the show change when Obama was elected president?
It really didn't change, because the whole idea is that, you know, it's a comedy show first and foremost, even though we do political satire. So it's really, you know, you can find comedy in anything. And, you know, we made fun of President Bush, and we make fun of President Obama, and, you know, it's kind of fair game.
Yeah, when the Bush era ended, I saw Jon Stewart being interviewed somewhere, and someone asked him, you know, how are you going to continue without Bush? And you know, you're going to have to end the show. And he was like, are you going to have to end the news? Because that's what we do. We look at the news, and then there's always going to be ridiculous people to make fun of.
But have you been going more after the liberals now that they are in power? Is it easier to mock the people? It should be easier to mock the people in power than...
Yes, yeah, we want to mock the people in power no matter who. If they're being ridiculous, we want to do that no matter what stripe they are.
Right, but we also, as Opus said, we also make fun of the people that in the news business, you know, who are covering the news. So there's always, again, there's always comedy in that, no matter what.
As a journalist for many years, how do you feel about, I mean, making fun of your own profession, so to speak? Is that?
I mean, I love working on a comedy show. There's nothing better than being part of something that makes people laugh, and I'm not a writer. Opus is a writer who writes the jokes, but it's great to be a part of something that, you know, people enjoy and laugh at.
And at the same time, a lot of surveys say that a lot of young people actually get their news from the Colbert Report and the Daily Show.
Well, that's frightening, I would say. Because we're never in it to inform. We want to be truthful, but we're never going to do something just because it's news. We're going to do it because we think of something funny about it. So there's certainly large chunks of things that we've never touched that are important. So hopefully newspapers will survive for another couple of years and people will learn some stuff.
But you have also crossed the line into the world of real news for quite a lot of times. And we do have a clip here from the White House Correspondent Dinner 2006. Special occasion and very famous occasion where Stephen Colbert was talking directly to the president. Let's see that.
Ladies and gentlemen, here with a special edition of the Colbert Report, Stephen Colbert.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Before I begin, I've been asked to make an announcement. Whoever parked 14 black bulletproof SUVs out front, could you please move them? They're blocking in 14 other black bulletproof SUVs. They need to get out. Wow. Wow, what an honor. The White House Correspondents' Dinner. To actually, to sit here at the same table with my hero, George W. Bush. To be this close to the man. I feel like I'm dreaming. Somebody pinch me. You know what? I'm a pretty sound sleeper. That may not be enough. Somebody shoot me in the face. Is he really not here tonight? Damn it. The one guy who could have helped. By the way, before I get started, if anybody needs anything else at their tables, just speak slowly and clearly into your table numbers. Someone from the NSA will be right over with a cocktail. Mark Smith, ladies and gentlemen of the press corps, Madam First Lady, Mr. President, my name is Stephen Colbert, and tonight it is my privilege to celebrate this president. Because we're not so different, he and I. We both get it. Guys like us, we're not some brainiacs on the nerd patrol. We're not members of the Factinista. We go straight from the gut. Right, sir? That's where the truth lies. Right down here in the gut. Do you know you have more nerve endings in your gut than you have in your head? You can look it up. Now I know some of you are going to say I did look it up, and that's not true. That's because you looked it up in a book. Next time, look it up in your gut. I did. My gut tells me that's how our nervous system works. Every night on my show, The Colbert Report, I speak straight from the gut, okay? I give people the truth unfiltered by rational argument. I call it the no-fact zone. Fox News, I hold a copyright on that term.
Were you there?
I did. I was invited to go, and I was not able to go with Stephen to Washington, but I watched it with everyone else in the world, and it was interesting because it was his first foray into taking his character into the real world to an audience that was not prepared because our show had only been on the air for 1 year, so and many people hadn't seen it, and I think the Associated Press that invited Stephen, I don't think they had watched the show clearly, so we were just really amazed and astounded by the reaction that the Correspondents' Dinner received and sort of the reaction on the internet, essentially. And it kind of, solidified what Stephen, what we call the Colbert Nation. The fans of the show and the fans of Stephen really kind of came together and solidified into this mass that was, ultimately have followed the show and Stephen for the last 9 years. But it was a shock to some people, I think, including President Bush. But it was a wonderful introduction of this crazy character to the world.
Yeah.
And people either loved it or they hated it.
Or didn't understand it.
Or didn't understand it,
quite
right,
a few of those
right.
people. I mean, what amazes me whenever I watch that is like Stephen's amazing commitment, and part of it is he's just a performer, and part of it's his character. But like you saw that cutaway of people looking like this. And then he's telling jokes to them, and they're just giving him nothing. But he didn't drop 1% of his energy level and his commitment to it, and he just kept going. And then it was the people who watched it at home and watched it online, and who kind of made it the sort of thing it is today that people know about. But it's an interesting thing. It's always interesting when we bring ourselves out there and put ourselves into the world, because a lot of people don't get it, and it's always a little dicey, but it's fun. It's dangerous.
Has he told you how he felt himself standing, a couple of meters from the president and making fun of him? I mean, it takes some nerve.
Yeah, as he.
Yeah, I mean, I think he, I think in the moment he. Well, what he talks about is how he of course didn't realize the impact that it would have, because the Correspondents' Dinner, it's not like they invite comedians, and they invite comedians to make fun of the president and the press corps, but I think his just struck a little deeper than usual. So he said that there was more laughter in the room than actually appears on the broadcast. I think they didn't have a lot of mics in the room or something. So he said it wasn't quite as deadly silent as it appears. And then again, afterwards, it just became its own animal. But he said it was an interesting experience.
You also brought him into even realer part of the world when you took him to Iraq in 2008, was it?
Yes.
And that's even more of a risky thing because it is so deadly serious.
Yeah.
How did you handle the whole thing?
Well, it was quite a logistical nightmare, and thankfully, as a writer, I had nothing to do with that. I just showed up and wrote jokes. She did all of the hard work of figuring out how to do an entire week of shows in the middle of Baghdad, in the middle of one of Saddam's old palaces, which is a technical nightmare.
It was one of the most challenging professional experiences that I've had, and actually, everyone else on the show has experienced. So, but it was also one of the most rewarding, to be able to bring some laughter to people that are in those circumstances, and it was interesting because the military was very, receptive to us and to our show, and we received, a very warm reception from everyone over there.
They didn't feel that you were like peacemongers and should be kept out
it was
of the...
it was interesting. It kind of broke a lot of stereotypes that I certainly had, and we did have to deal with the Department of Defense in terms of some of the content we had to at least explain ahead of time. And we did a segment called Formidable Opponent, where Stephen debates himself, which is a very hard technical aspect of the show that I was astounded we were attempting to do in a war zone. But and basically we did it on the policy "Don't Ask, Don't Tell," which was in place back then. And we had to convince the U.S. government, the Department of Defense, that this was something good to talk about. But that's what our show does. Our show, sort of wants to talk about things that are very real, and even if they're controversial, and they let us do it. And it, it's a wonderful segment if you can look it up on the internet.
Yeah.
Were you invited to do it, or did you sort of draft yourself?
We were invited to. You mean to go to Iraq?
Yeah.
We were invited.
Yeah, you can't just show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were invited.
I guess we did in the first place. We kind of showed up, but yeah, that was a few years before that. Yeah, we were invited, and it was one of the fun things I thought was that we were invited, and we made these plans, and we were excited to talk about it, and then they came back and said, "You shouldn't tell anyone you're going there," and the network was like, "But we are spending all this money to send people over there. We want to hype it up," and so for leading up to it, we had a segment about Stephen. It was called "Where in the World." We also couldn't say the time, so we had to build excitement for a special show sometime in the future, someplace in the Persian Gulf, and then it was only revealed when we were there and we started airing them that we were in Iraq. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but it was fun.
Right, and we did it with 30 people instead of our normal 90 staff and crew. So we did it with a third of the people there. So.
You also got, I don't even remember, 300,000, 400,000 people to come to Washington for the big rally, Keep Fair Alive, the rally to Restore Sanity / Keep Fair Alive. Could you tell us a little about that? The whole, I think more people actually came to watch this than actually showed up for the "I Have a Dream" speech of Martin Luther King 50 years earlier.
Well, that's another scary thing. That's frightening. Although Stephen likes to say that he was at that speech. He was at the "I Have a Dream" speech. He has a pennant from it. He was actually his mother went to that event, and she was pregnant with him at the time. So he was at the "I Have a Dream" speech, and then we did our own rally along with the Daily Show. We sort of combined these two rallies, and it really shows the roles that the two shows play. Where Jon is playing this role of a guy who's just like, let's just calm down, everybody. Let's be reasonable. And our show is like, let's not be reasonable. Let's go crazy and bust some shit up. And so he had a rally to restore sanity. We had a march to promote fear, and then they sort of merged together to the rally to restore sanity and/or fear. And it was an insane time. I mean, there was 200,000 people watching our show.
Yeah, and it was interesting because some people saw it as a real political rally where, again, ultimately our show...
because Glenn Beck and the Tea Party movement had a rally just a couple of months before.
And we were, playing off of that. But again, ultimately our show is a comedy show. And again, we talk about politics and we make fun of news and politics, but the first and foremost, we want to make people laugh. And so we certainly did at the rally.
And one of the things that I knew it was going to be a good thing is that leading up to it, there was people on the right saying, "Oh my God, they're having this big rally. It's gonna like stir up the left, and they're going to get really excited and go and vote, and it's a really bad thing." And then there was people on the left saying, all of the Democrats that are normally out knocking on doors telling people to vote are not going to be doing that weekend. They're going to be in D.C., and so it's going to screw up the Democrats' chances in the election. So both sides were really mad at us for holding the rally, and I thought that was a really good sign, because we don't want to be political. We kind of just want to be the fools in the middle.
Do you have any projects that you haven't yet realized that you would like to do? I mean...
We were going to do a show on the moon.
Okay.
But logistics, if you know anybody. No, I don't know.
We've done a lot of things that that have sort of pushed the limits of production and comedy.
I would say that that's the thing, is that I can't plan for this job because it always surprises me. I never thought I would be in Baghdad in 2008, or in front of 200,000 people on the Washington Mall, or sitting in Congress behind Stephen as he testified. Like, any time I would imagine something, the reality would always just would trump that anyway. So I've learned to just sit back and strap in and enjoy the ride.
He also ran for president. I got a lot of funding.
Of South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And got a lot of funding.
Yeah, oh yeah, well we had the super PAC, but that was separate. The campaign finance laws changed in the United States to allow a ridiculous amount of money to influence the election, and so we decided, there was these groups called super PACs that millionaires were just pouring money into, and so we decided to get one of those because it seemed like a good way to get a bunch of money. And it's just a funny way to explore that process. And we did it pretty early on, and it became a really big story in the United States that year, but we were kind of in the middle of it in a weird way.
Right, which is what one of the great things about the show, and Stephen, is that we do like to sort of insert ourselves into the reality, into what is happening, and so that, you know, Stephen likes to experience it so that the fans can sort of experience it through him. And it just makes it so much easier to comment on something when you're a part of it. And people sent us over $1 million for our super PAC. Which is, again, just astounding.
Altogether,
or
was that one contributor who gave over $1 million?
No, that was people sending in $10, $15 a piece. But it did allow us to talk about, I mean, you know, it's sort of wonderful to be able to spend a year making comedy about political campaign finances.
Yeah, and then at the end we had $800,000 left. We ran ads, and we had all these other things. Of course, we didn't spend $1 million. And at the end, because campaign finance laws are so shady in the United States, we were able to just sort of like make that money go away. And coincidentally, that exact same amount of money ended up donated to different charities for Sandy relief and for transparency in government. But there's really no way of showing that amount of money came from this super PAC that we had, which just shows you, like, there are people that could just take a bunch of money and just take it, you know? And that's not what I want in my politics. Anyways.
After you were booked for this, the big news was that Stephen Colbert is gonna take over the Late Show on CBS.
Wait, really?
After David Letterman.
Yes.
And the big question is, what is going to happen to Stephen Colbert as we know him?
That is a good question. I mean, I think we're going to find out. The character has decided that he won. He's just won television. He's done enough because he clearly has been the best at television. He won, and he's going to retire because he's on top. And he doesn't know the other guy who's going to be taking over the CBS show. But he thinks he's a little fat. He said that on The Daily Show at one point. Seems weird. We're not quite sure how it's going to all end up. We're doing the Colbert Report until the end of the year. And we have some ideas, but I can't tell you about them. They may or may not involve the moon. But it's going to be fun to figure out how we do that and how we sort of say goodbye to that. And it's going to be nice to sort of wrap it up in a way that, you know, on our terms.
Are you going with him?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
The whole team?
We are, yes, our plan, our hope is to take our whole team over there. You know, we've created this amazing group of, you know, people that work really well together, so you want to, you know, continue to have that.
But he hasn't really done this before. He has not been himself. I mean, when you go into a role like the old Johnny Carson role, you have this persona that is more of yourself than this other character.
But I think you watch those clips and you see his sense of humor, you see his personality come through, you see he's playing a character, but I think people are, I'm sort of surprised at the people saying, like, well, we don't know who this guy is, because they've been enjoying him on TV for 9 years. I think people are he's gonna be a little more familiar than people think. And also, he's also said that there is a blend, there is a carryover of the character and the man, and that he's interested in finding out what that is, and we're all gonna find out together.
Can you say "fuck you" on CBS?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think they're still bleeping.
Yeah, because this is a network.
This is
as opposed to a cable show. And what is the main differences?
Well, we're going to find that out. I think, you know, people say on network television there's more oversight than on cable. I think, you know, ultimately Stephen's not big on oversight, as most comedians aren't. You know, comedians generally or on the opposite side of authority on every issue at every point. So we'll, hopefully push the limits there as well to be able to do the type of comedy and show that we want to do.
Yeah, and for me, the main difference, I think, is going to be there are going to be better snacks in the break room.
Right.
That's going to be it.
Are you going to miss him? Are you going to miss Stephen Colbert as the right-wing truthiness pundit?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's a strange thing right now because I am excited for this new thing that we get to do, and then there's a little part of me that's like still kind of like heartbroken and sad because this thing that I've loved being a part of is going to come to an end over the next 6 months. What is it? How long? And I'm going to miss that. But it's really exciting to be working with this team that I love on a new endeavor and figuring out what the next thing is as well.
Yes, 100 shows left, so it'll be very bittersweet in the end. But
Okay.
yeah.
Meredith, Opus, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.